live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Smokin Nicole.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and I am here once again with none of the other Smokin Tabacco team members. That's right, I'm flying solo tonight with our guest, who I'll get to in a second. But just as a big public service announcement, this will be the last week of Thursday nights. Next week we will return to our former night, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Same time, same place, but Wednesday night. So just for those who watch live, make a mental note, Wednesdays going forward. You've been warned. If you can't find me on Thursday night, you already missed the show. So that is our big change. Mitchell will most likely be on the show with me more. Nicole, for obvious reasons, a little bit less. And we may even see the return of John Carney a little bit more, hopefully. No promises. He's a busy guy, but we'll see. But without further ado, we'll worry about that next week. We have a guest with us tonight, a really awesome guest. I think most of you guys know who this guy is. Makes fantastic cigars. Without further ado, I'm going to bring him on, and that is Mr. Nick Melillo of Foundation Cigar. Nick, what's up, buddy?
Great to see you. Thanks for having me. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
It's already Thursday.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. The week just... I feel like, as you get older, time, it's true what they say. The older you get, the faster everything happens,
It was best explained to me by an older gentleman who said it's like an hourglass. So when you first flip that hourglass, it looks like the sand is moving slow, but as there's less sand, it looks like it's moving faster, but it's really moving the same speed. But
Right.
the perspective of it, because there's less sand, makes it seem as though it's going much faster. And I'd have to say that's true for myself. And it is true what they say.
Mm-hmm.
The perspective of time moves really, really fast as you get older.
Well, usually for most people, the older you get, the busier you are. You get married, you have kids, you're working and all this. So your plate gets more full, and obviously you have less and less time to do all those things. So, but what you're saying too, that is true. It makes sense. And I'm feeling it now. I'm starting to feel it as I get older.
How old are you now?
No, it's okay. I'm 29. I'm only 29.
Man, enjoy it. You're young. You're young. You're young. I can't believe I'm saying that now.
How old are you?
I'm 44, man. And,
really? I didn't think you were that old.
I appreciate it. It makes me.
I thought you were like 35.
That's what I get a lot, and I have like 40 pounds on me, so I actually look even younger if I have some of this weight off of me. But yeah, I started really early in the industry when I was 18. When I was 18, I looked like I was 13. So it was funny starting to work at a cigar shop at 18, and I really did. I looked like I was 13, 14 years old. And guys would come into the store and they'd look at me and they'd be like, who the hell is this kid telling me about cigars? Well, what does he know?
Is he even old enough to be in here?
Correct. I got a lot of that. And, slowly but surely with time, I was able to win over a lot of the customers, and they began to trust me as time went on. Yeah.
So, well, I wanted to say, thank you for being here with us tonight. We're already off to a great start. I'm having a great time. I hope you have a great time too. I am smoking, courtesy of our friends at Two Guys Smoke Shop. If you head to the number 2guyscigars.com, that's right, you just heard Nick say it, Two Guys, the number 2guyscigars.com, you can grab a cigar from our Cigar of the Year list, the Olmec Maduro Toro.
Nice.
Sorry. You can pick this up at the number 2guyscigars.com, as well as all other amazing fucking cigars from Foundation Cigar Co. The Upsetters, Charter Oak, which is a sleeper. Definitely grab that cigar if you haven't smoked it yet.
Yeah, I'm smoking one tonight. I need something.
For those who don't know, Nick, you talk about Charter Oak. I think there's people out there who run across it, and it's at a more affordable price point, for those who don't know. But don't let that fool you. That's a great cigar for the price. That was one of my first cigars years ago when I first started podcasting. I had that cigar for the first time many moons ago when I was on the Ashholes podcast at Two Guys
Right.
Smoke Shop.
Yeah, sure.
That cigar, I was like, damn. And I was like, who makes this? And they were like, Nick Melillo. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense.
I appreciate it. It is one of those sleepers, and the intent. Some people don't know what to make of this cigar, and some shops don't know what to make of it because because of the price point. Some shops don't like it because it's too inexpensive, and of course, you want to focus on those, those better margin sticks, but people just took to them and it took off. My intent was to make something that was reminiscent of Connecticut cigars, right? So in Connecticut, where I grew up, my grandfather all smoked Connecticut brands, and
Right.
so many brands existed up into the late 90s. A lot of these brands still existed, and a lot of them kind of faded away. There's a few, Toppers, Chris Topper, who owns Topper Cigars. He's around. He's been going since the late 1800s, but there was tons of brands. So my intent was to make something that was more of your everyday type of cut in the lawn type of cigar, something maybe, that you're not gonna it's not gonna kill your wallet. And that's what those Connecticut cigars were. They're always really great cigars at a really awesome price. And Charter Oak, I set off to do that, and it's, gotten best buys from Cigar Aficionado almost, I think, 2 years in a row, and people seem to just love the cigar. We're finally to the point where we can keep them in stock, because for so long they just kind of took off by itself.
Yeah, that was a cigar. That was one of the cigars that when I first went into Two Guys Smoke Shop back before I was anything with cigars, I didn't know much, and I just started kind of going in there to hang out and smoke cigars and just, try to figure out what cigars were. As most shops, they go, hey, what cigars do you recommend? And the shop people who work there will say, oh, there's this and this, and Charter Oak was one of those cigars. Like, hey, have you had Charter Oak? No. And I did that, and at that point I had heard of you and some of the other cigars you've had. I had, and I was like, no, I don't really know about this cigar. And someone just gave it to me. They didn't tell me anything about it. Like, oh, try this cigar. And I was like, wow, this is really good. And I'm like, what company is this? I'm like, oh, it's Foundation, Nick Melillo. And I was like, oh, no shit. Okay, yeah, I really like his other cigars. And from then on, I was like, it is a little deceiving. You're right. It's a little like the price point's a lot lower, and but I'm like, damn. But regardless, I'm like, this is a good cigar, and it just means that I can buy even more of them. So
solid. Yeah, 20 count boxes. You got them in 3 wrappers. So I tried to hit all of those kind of flavor profiles from the Maduros, Connecticut broadleaf, the shade, and then the Habanos right in the middle. So you got the best of all worlds.
Yeah. I'm lighting. I already cut and lit, but I cut and lit my cigar with Cigar Blondie accessories. Don't forget to head over to cigarblondie.com and check those out, featuring their amazing flat blade flame lighter, their double guillotine cutter, available in 3 finishes. I have the chrome set, Nicole has the white set, and Cigar Coop has the black set. Only at cigarblondie.com. So now that my initial ads are out of the way, Nick, I can really dive into this with you. Very exciting. I'm smoking the Olmec. Probably not even just me. If you ask most people out there, I'm sure you've probably already heard it hundreds of thousands of times. One of the best cigars to come out last year. It definitely had a lot of buzz.
Thanks. Yeah.
We have another show called the Spare Notes Show that I do with Cigar Coop, William Cooper. I'm sure you're familiar with. Coop.
I gotta say it every time I hear his name.
Gotta do it.
I think I'm gonna be talking to Coop. I haven't talked to him in so long. I think we got something lined up in the next couple of months. But yes, Mr. Cooper.
We actually, I think we talked about this past weekend on our Spare Note show that we do, because we talked a little bit about some of the lists that we had made at Smokin Tabacco about companies that were kind of in control, companies that were just kind of hot, and companies that were kind of making a comeback. And or just ones to watch in general. And Foundation really was one of those companies that, for a couple years, and you weren't the only one, but it seemed things were a little quiet. And then fast forward, you go to 2022 at the trade show, and you guys are back. You get your beautiful booth with the pyramid and everything, and it's great. And you were there. We caught up with you and all that, but you brought some stuff with you. First of all, you brought the Olmecs, which I have, like, I can't do anything cigar related, go to a shop, talk to anyone without someone mentioning Olmec. I mean, did you expect this cigar to be as popular as it became?
You always hope that people are really going to take to your new creations, and I just really nestled in the creation process with Olmec, and I think the connection too between the history of tobacco is there, with the civilization of the Olmec and being one of the oldest civilizations to use tobacco, and then just my relation to traveling to that area, San Andreas, Tuxtl. I had been going to Mexico since probably '05, '06, purchasing tobacco. So it seems like all of the stars aligned, and I am a little surprised in a way just to see how certain brands just kind of have that magic, and it seems like the Olmec is really making a splash in the market. And you know, it's been a crazy 3 years. Like you said, we were kind of quiet. COVID hit, and it was just kind of crazy times. And it was cool to see not being on the road, not having any salespeople on the road, how strong the brands, all this work we have been doing since we started the company. But I really took time to, be in one place. It kind of came at a perfect time for me because I was traveling way too much. I was in Nicaragua between our office in Connecticut and just really exhausted. So we kind of took COVID time to, take some downtime. But during those 2 years, I was able to really get into the creation process. And so Olmec is the result of, the 2 years of just me kind of nestling in and then just really working with some amazing tobaccos,
Which is what I think a
and
lot of manufacturers did. I mean, we saw, and like I said, you weren't the only one. There was a lot of companies that I think, had enough to just kind of get through it, and they did. Big companies like, Drew Estate, General, Altadis, Oliva, you know, then you had your mid-tier guys and the smaller companies, and I think that some of them either already had stuff ready to go, and then some of them, it kind of threw them off a little bit, and I think some of them made the choice. And there's tons of them that were like, you know what, let's just settle in, like you said. Let's focus on creativity. Let's take some downtime. We'll stop the traveling. Let's be in the factory. Let's be at home. Work with tobaccos. Come up with some stuff. And then when this thing is over, eventually, we're gonna have all these things to display. And that is exactly what you did. And I have to say, I think it paid off for you. You had some winners in there.
we had a few winners. I mean, Olmec was the core line that we released. The other things we released at the show, like the Menelik Toro, I see Skip is asking for.
Yes.
Skip, we are behind with Menelik Toros right now, as we are with Olmec. So the demand has just been above our expectations. So we're running behind right now. So if you see any Menelik Toros out there, or Olmec for that matter, right now, scoop them up. We hope to be getting caught up. I'm actually heading to Nicaragua tomorrow, so I'll be down there for most of this year, making sure everything's on point. But as the month continues, we should be getting doses of shipments, but they are going to go quick. I'm hoping by February we get kind of caught up. So if you see any of the new stuff out there, Menelik, we extended Wawense and Wise Man Maduro with a size called Macho Raton, which is a 4 3/4 by 60 Perfecto. Those right now we're behind on, so we're hoping over the next month we'll get caught up. Skip,
Yeah,
thanks for the question.
I remember when the Menelik, the shorter, was it a Robusto, or I think it was just a Robusto?
Yeah,
Came out
the first
2019.
Menelik is a 4.5 by 52 Robusto.
Yeah.
That was the first one. That was I started with an event only for that cigar. That came in a 5 pack that I would do only when I did events. And there's some of those in stock right now, but not many. Also, but that was the first one, and then we've just had such a demand for a larger size for Menelik, so we came out with the 6x52 Toro and 12 count boxes at the show. Those are quarterly releases, so we do quarterly limited releases. So every quarter we have about 700, 800 boxes that come in. And we kind of use those, for our customers that are supporting all of Foundation's lines.
Okay.
That's kind of what that cigar
Kind
is
of more of like
for.
an incentive to purchase more, or
Yeah, we just don't make that many, and yeah, it's definitely an incentive for those that are, not just cherry picking.
yeah. The other one that came at the show that I have smoked. I don't think any of the rest of my team has smoked them yet, but I had one. Was the I always butcher the name, so I already know where I'm going with. Is it the Senetjr?
Senetjr, yeah,
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 I got it this
which
time.
means of the gods.
Of the gods.
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Now, and I didn't choose that name. My guys at Highclere are really, we worked with an Egyptologist from Yale on the project, which is incredible. And as you know, sometimes when you get involved in that creative process, the artist in you is not really thinking about the functionality of how things work in the market.
Yeah.
Hence, Wednesday for me was my artistic side of just having to really represent Nicaragua. But the I call it Senetjr. I think it's Senetjr is the proper way,
So
which
you
means
don't
of the
even say it
god.
right. I don't feel
It's
bad
it's
now.
it's I wanted to name it. What did I want it to name it? I wanted to name it KV62, which is how they have the tomb of King Tut classified in the Valley of the Kings. So
Okay.
every tomb had a KV and then a number. Um, but yes, I'm sorry, I'm diverting here.
No,
What were you saying about it?
no. I was just saying, I thought it was a great cigar. I love the size on it. Longer, kind
Oh,
of
gotcha.
double
Yeah,
perfecto. I
yeah.
mean, it's the first of
It
all, the box and the bands. I know that the packaging is not always everything, but everyone always talks about it anyway. So let me just get it out of the way. It was fucking awesome. I thought it was cool. I thought the
thank
box was
I,
sexy. It was black and gold. Obviously, I love that. But getting down to the actual cigar, no, the cigar was great. I loved the size that it was in. It performed really well, and it was cool. Now, the only question I had was, because I don't remember off the top of my head, was that a one-time thing, or is this a
one time.
one time?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's it.
thank God, because I can't do that box anymore. Um, and the cigars are special. Um, it was one time thing. We did 750 boxes, so those are going to be gone. That was just for the 100th year anniversary of King Tut's discovery. It was a one time thing. It only comes around every 100 years, so hopefully some people save some of them. I know I'm saving a few, just to have them stashed. But
You
it
have
was
to.
a really special project. One of the reasons why I did get involved in Highclere early on was because of the history there with King Tut's tomb. I had known that his great grandfather had funded Howard Carter and was responsible for the discovery, and that always intrigued me. And I had known that they had a full replica of the tomb under the castle, which was awesome. I got to visit. I haven't been to Egypt yet to visit the real tomb, but I was at the one at Highclere, and it's an exact replica of the tomb that they discovered. So this really intrigued me early on. I think we're talking 2016, 17 when I started the relationship with Highclere, and just their history of cigar smoking. They're smoking at the castle. I was able to access a lot of the documents of great grandfathers, Partagas factory receipts, from
Wow.
different cigar shops. So that was super cool. You know, just being into history and everything, being able to have access to archivist at the castle and to see a lot of these
So
old documents.
you're a real cigar geek then.
Yes, I am.
Like most
I
of us.
am. And I just love. I'm a history geek, just in general. I love old books and old pictures and old documents, and yeah, I have a bunch here. I think I have. These are some of my. This isn't tobacco related, but this is the whole 1930 collection of Time magazines in one book.
Wow.
Yeah, this has all the Time magazines from 1930. I had never seen something. It was a library that put them together, so it's kind of crazy.
That is cool. That is
I
cool.
just got this. This is how I nerd out.
Well,
And
you're
then
seeing
I
it
got
here, folks. This is how Nick
Yeah.
Melillo spends his spare time.
These are my Christmas presents to myself. They're
Yeah.
old books. Yeah. Hopefully one day they'll end up in a library. I got it for a specific reason because of this. This is Haile Selassie got Man of the Year in 1930 November because he was coronated. So this is the king that is on the tabernacle box.
Right.
So that's why I specifically got this. But I got all of them because this issue alone goes for $1,000 on the market. Like if you just wanted to find this Time magazine, it's about $1,000 if you can find it.
Wow.
I got this whole thing for like $100.
Oh, there you go.
Steal. Yep. So
I mean, I would say so. So, but if anyone out there is looking for a gift and money is no object, if you can find Nick that issue, an original in very good condition or better, I think you might have a win there.
I would accept that gift. I would definitely accept it. But yeah, I mean, cigar memorabilia and history, I love that stuff too. So
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. It was cool to see that project because of that reason. I'm a history guy too. I spend a lot of my time at night when I have nothing else to do, just online reading, just reading historical stuff. And I've always liked anything Egyptian, especially the ancient Egyptian stuff too. So for me, I was like, wow, this is badass. Like this is something that personally I really like. This I like the theme. I like the story behind it. And then I was just like, I just hope the cigar is good because I don't want it to ruin it for me. And I had the cigar and I was like, no, this is good. So it's a complete package. But no, I didn't get a box. So if I come across a box, I have to grab one. But so seven.
Yeah, the boxes again, it always starts with the cigar for me. I think it's interesting because I think that's what happens sometimes is people get away from the cigar, but it definitely, as long as I'm around, it's always starting with the cigar. The packaging's become a way for me to be able to complement the blend with things that I'm really passionate about in my life, and history and culture being one of them. So to do this project, we didn't want it to come across as a gimmick too. I'm not a huge fan of gimmicks, although sometimes they could be funny and cool, depending on what it is, but not my thing. So we didn't want it to come across that way. So we really went in and, got the research down. There was lots of boxes found within the tomb. So we really got to work with that. That was cool, right? Because there's boxes actually in the tomb storing things. There were so many different boxes inside the tomb. So then it was just about, how do we recreate it and do it properly? So hence my partner on the project, Adam from Highclere, really it made this great connection with these Egyptologists from Yale. And that really just helped make it even more authentic, to make sure the hieroglyphics were proper on the box, and to make sure, the design and his logo was proper. So, yeah.
I think that, it's interesting that you said, you don't want it to be like a gimmick, and I don't think it was either. If anything, I would describe what you did as a very well done tribute. I think is the best way to describe it. It was a great tribute.
Yes.
in so many ways. But I know what you mean about the gimmicky thing. You don't ever want to just throw something out there that's kind of half-assed, that's got like a theme going. And you're like, oh, we did this thing because of this, but no, I mean, I think you're right. I think you guys took the time, you put some thought into it, and you did it right. It came out well. The cigar was great, but it was more of a tribute, and I think that was another home run.
You got it. That's pretty much what a lot of my brands are, tributes and homages to something in particular.
Right. So I mean, you already
Yeah.
kind of have that overall theme going for you with your brand. So anytime you come out with something like that, it's like another page in the book, right? It's another page of the story for you of kind of everything you've done to
Exactly.
this point.
True
One
that.
question I wanted to ask, kind of to shake up the foundation talk a little bit. There's a question I'm going to ask you, but to be honest with you, this is a question that is not really 100% from me. This is a question I hear people bring up all the time, and it's usually in regards to two people, you and Steve. And it's even though
Shaka Khan?
no, not about Saka Khan, but in regards to you and Steve formerly being at Drew Estate, a lot of people always ask me like, I wonder what Nick and Steve think. And I've asked Steve this question, and I got the typical Steve answer. So now I'm like, I have to ask you. But people always say, I wonder what Nick and Steve or how they feel about the cigars that they had worked on during their time, and kind of where those brands have come now that they've left. Um, do you feel that?
How
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
how no clarify, so how the brands are doing now, you mean, or what we
Yeah,
think of
just
them now?
since you guys have left them in the past, have they continued to go on to the way that you guys have envisioned, or have they changed? Just kind of like an honest outside opinion, even though you're doing your own thing now.
I mean, I think they've gone on, yeah, I mean, to just grow. I mean, if I see just in the marketplace, the brands have just, I think, really flourished. Liga Privada has become a huge brand. I mean, it was a huge brand when I was there, but I think it's just grown and grown since I've left, and I think the whole company has. I
Yeah.
think they've expanded out into different distribution chains into a wider audience, but I think the company's just continued to grow.
When you were back in the day, when you guys were working on Liga in the beginning, I mean, did you ever think that it would become this thing like that it is? I mean, it's
It's such a crazy time because people don't remember at that time period in like '06, '07. DE was seen as a joke amongst the hardcore traditionalist guys. We were seen as the flavored guys. Um, and that was the image of the company. I mean, it's a completely different image than I think what it is now. In a sense, I mean, there's still, that DE has its own kind of flair and style, which is of course coming directly from Jonathan. Um, but we were at that time we were seen as the flavored guys, and all we knew is I didn't smoke flavored cigars. I was a hardcore traditionalist. I smoked Padron 3000s. I smoked a lot of Fuentes. I respected the products as far as working at a tobacco shop is finding cigars for different palates, and there's a place in the market, and arguably it's infused cigars are one of the top selling cigars in the marketplace. So there's definitely a place in the market for them. The sales show that.
of course.
So I was, from when I got down there, I was a cigar geek working at a shop, and I'm 24 in the north of Nicaragua amongst all these masters. I just started settling in and learning tobacco and learning how to blend and learning the leaf, for years. So it was just a full commitment. When Steve came on, his whole job was to bring us into that traditional world and brand a cigar in the traditional world, and kind of it was a huge monumental task. because the image and brand was the flavored guys. So, we were, that was a huge task. And I think Steve did it beautifully by, being not understanding what needed to happen in Nicaragua. At that time, I'm in Nicaragua. Our tobacco inventories were not the greatest. I needed a lot of tools in order to bring us into that traditional market, and Steve helped provide that from the stateside.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just stayed committed to what it was. We knew we couldn't budge an inch on quality or consistency or any of it because of the microscope we were under and being the flavored guys.
Right.
So we just went hardcore into being committed to the product. That's what we needed to do. And if we wavered, when it would have been a whole different story potentially. But the cigar smoked and spoke for itself. We kind of knew as we gave it to people, that there was something going on.
You
That
had
the
something. You,
blend
you you knew. You're like,
Yeah.
we got it. We got it. Something's going on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. It's kind of like Olmec too. Like when you start hearing industry people smoking it, and then you're hearing from industry people, or industry people are being told, you got to try this cigar. Like, you got to smoke this cigar.
Yeah.
Then you kind of know there's something up. That the blend is maybe standing out and special in a way, because that doesn't happen a lot. Like, so many people, especially in the industry, they have access to so many cigars. There's so many cigars on the market. So when you get people in the industry saying, "Oh, you got to try this," and that's what was happening with Liga early on. I was giving it to all my tobacco guys in Nicaragua, and I was like, try this, and they were like, "Wow, that's just, can I have another one? This is a special cigar."
Now you
So
talked
I don't know if I'm answering your questions.
No, I mean you were also you kind of also leading down the road that I wanted to go anyway. But you brought up a specific point that I didn't know you were going to say, and you mentioned about how when Steve came on, but in the Drew Estate days, when Steve came on, he helped really provide a lot of tools and resources, right? You mentioned something about that, and at the time, like you said, Drew Estate was not what it is today at all. Would you say, or how would you say your experience with Drew Estate at that time in your younger years really helped to give you the experience and the lessons learned that when you went to Foundation and you were like, this is my show, how did that really help you, how did that set you up for success later on? Sorry, I was trying to put that question together.
I mean, it's set up for, I always say there's three parts to the cigar industry. Farming, that's a world unto itself. Fermentation, manufacturing, that's a world unto itself. Sales and distribution, that's a whole nother world, right? So I was able to really although I'm not farming on a daily,
right.
I knew the farm, but that's not my experience as being out on a farm 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours on the weekends. I have the more luxurious part of it, and inspecting crops and inspecting tobacco barns and, the curing side of it. So, the experience set me up on the blending and tobacco and manufacturing and really understanding, the roots of the product, and cigars, from the seed to, the box. What I didn't have starting, Foundation was the sales and distribution side. And that's what I've been learning constantly, is the sales and distribution side of things. But yeah, I mean, my experience, I went from retail, working a tobacco shop in really the height of the cigar boom in 96, and then moving to Nicaragua. I mean, I was able to have a perspective on the industry that I think a lot don't have the opportunity to have.
That's
And
true.
even people that work in Nicaragua per se might not know the tobacconist side, the shop side. And if you're missing that side, that definitely has an effect, right? Because you might be used to certain blends, or you might not understand the American palate. You might understand more of the Cuban style blends, or maybe European style blends. So I've been able to kind of have a real good perspective in understanding, I think, the market, uh, people's palates, you know, and how to put those components together to make, blends that I really like. I mean, I got to really, can we swear on this show?
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to really fucking like it, in order for it to make it into the box. But I think I have, because I'm open to understanding what people like, right? Because working at a cigar shop, you're just not trying to, force what you like into people's hands. That's not going to make you a great tobacconist. You're trying to understand what that person likes and flavor profiles, and where their palate is at, to get them the right cigar. And I'm open to that and understanding, those flavor profiles. I enjoy different flavor profiles, so it's not always, I have favorites, of course,
Right.
but I can smoke a Charter Oak when I'm in the mood for it. It's a lighter blend. So I think having that openness and understanding different palates has enabled me to be very diverse when it comes to blending, and then also in creating, different brands. Because if you see the whole foundation portfolio, the idea is, okay, let's say there's no other cigars. You're a cigar shop, a tobacconist. You have no other cigars to sell that day except for foundation. There's all different walks, people with different palates that come through that door in the course of a day. Do you have something that they're going to like? And then also price points, right?
Right.
So the idea in the portfolio was to really cover, all of the whole gamut. And I think it's then understanding what those cigars are, right? Is the tobacconist understanding each of the brands and the blends, and kind of where they belong.
Yeah, and I think, I don't make cigars. I don't work out in fields, so who am I? But from the outside perspective, we talk to people like you and so many others in this industry that do that and are great at it and really know it, and are also very humble about it too, which I have to say, which is really nice. But it's interesting to have these conversations and hear responses to some of these questions. A lot of these questions we ask to everybody, and but one of the things I picked up from you, and I've picked up on several others that are kind of had a similar history as you, is that time in the retail shop, before you did anything else, it really, I think, was one of the best things for you, being to where you are today, where you have your own brand, you're making your own cigars and stuff like that, and skills that, yes, you acquired, in the years after that and stuff like that. But when you go back to, you mentioned the beginning, when you were 18, you were in that little cigar shop, and people are like, who's this fucking kid who's like telling me like what's good? Like, I've been smoking cigars longer than he's been alive. And since then, you've gained all this knowledge, you've gained all this experience. But it sounds to me like one of the most important things was that time in the retail store, because you're able to really identify and remember when you identified with a consumer who comes into the shop and looking for a cigar. What do they like to smoke? What kind of flavors are they looking for? What kind of cigar did they want to buy? And not just telling them, well, you should smoke this, because what I'm not telling you is, we just bought these and we got to make sure they sell and this and that. And no, like really understanding, like, well, like something that they're going to spend their money on, that they're going to enjoy, that hopefully they come back and buy more of. And then you go and you make, and you're blending your own cigars, and you're working with tobacco, and you're like, this is, you have those things of like, well, this is what I remember a lot of people liked, and people like this, and people like that. And then you go and you make your own cigars. So you're kind of already a little bit ahead of the game. And not everyone has that experience. And I don't think you have to have that experience. But it sounds to me like that has been one of those things that has been a little bit of an advantage for you as you've gone forward and gone and made your own cigars.
It doesn't hurt. And it didn't hurt then moving to Nicaragua and being able to use the knowledge from the cigar store on the production floor also.
Yeah.
Right. Why are things done? Why can the wrapper only be one color? Why can't it be two color? Understanding the why and being able to explain it, especially to maybe someone who's never been in a cigar store or had that experience before. I mean, that comes in handy.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's like, why does why does the formation of the head have to be so perfect? Why does it have to be triple cap? If you understand and it can explain, why it is, it makes a big difference.
I know we're running out of time, so I wanted to ask you before we left. Obviously, we've talked a lot about last year and everything that you had come out, and we're talking about it and smoking it, and it's all great. But it's 2023; it's a new year. I know it's early, but can we expect to see more from Foundation this year, or is it kind of just slow and steady?
You might see some treats at the show.
Uh-huh.
You might see a few treats.
PCA?
We'll I've been working PCA.
Yeah.
PCA we should be there, God willing, representing. We try to go hard at the PCA, which is our industry trade show. So I think you might see some. It depends if everything's right. I've had some things in the works. So, now I'm in Nicaragua to tweak everything. As long as everything stays on schedule, you might see a few treats at the show.
Okay, give us something to give a strong tease and something to hopefully look forward to.
You might see a Charter Oak extension. I don't know. You might see a nice treat in Charter Oak. You might see something for Tabernacle. I might be doing something for Tabernacle, which would probably be for something for charity, which would be like a super special something. And you never know, possibly another core line, but I don't know yet.
So Mitchell, who's part of the Smokin Tabacco team, who couldn't be on with us tonight, he put an interesting comment up here, and I think you can see this, but I'll read it for those who are listening at home.
No comment, Mitchell. No comment.
I hope Nick brings out the cigars from some of that new tobacco he's been working on. He teased us last year.
I don't know what Mitchell's talking about.
Senetjr. Yeah. Someone asked earlier, are you Italian?
I am Italian.
Yeah.
I am Sicilian, Napolitano, and I think there's a little bit of Venetian in there somewhere.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some good. I'm watching the YouTube questions here from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
You got some.
There's some interesting stuff
like
going on over there.
You got some regulars going on over there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some stuff going on over there. Yeah.
Nice.
It's as Coop would say, rumor free, teaser free, but apparently we've broken that rule here tonight. So.
Rumor free, teaser free. Oh God.
Yeah.
What is this program you use on this? Is
Ecamm Live.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's comments here too.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all in there. This. Nick, please join the LFD Discord. Okay, I'm just seeing this for the first time.
Yeah, someone asked earlier. What did they ask you? Someone asked you how you became friends with Joe Rogan.
Oh boy, how I became friends. Wow. It just sort of happened, man. It happened over COVID. A friend of a friend actually who's a big cigar smoker, was actually traveling when Joe moved to Texas, and he brought a box of cigars that we had hand painted. We had hand painted a special box for him. and that really started. I had been a big Joe JRE fan for many years, and tried reaching out like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and of course it's impossible to get through via their email or anything, and just some random events occurred, and yeah, he got a box in his hands, and ever since he had a box, he's just been really big supporter of Foundation. It's been amazing to see just all the support he's given us. So I ended up making him a cigar just for him, based on kind of what he was smoking. He was smoking Wise Man Maduros for a while. He was smoking um, our Tabernacle David and Goliaths,
Yep.
and I ended up making him his own broadleaf blend with his
Really
own band. Yeah,
interesting.
so he's been smoking those pretty consistently.
So he's a broadleaf guy.
He's a broadleaf guy. He's wasn't a big smoker. Now I think he smokes pretty regularly, but I could tell based on what he liked as far as foods and scotches. He liked spicy. He liked really peaty scotches. So I knew, typically somebody that's newer to smoking, you wouldn't give them, say, a stronger broadleaf blend, but he definitely had different palate. Again, going back to what we've been talking about, is just finding the right blend for the right palate. So he really took to the broadleaf blend, and he smokes it pretty consistently. Now he's
Huh.
got a nice humidor up in the podcast studio, so he's set up.
Nice,
He's
nice.
set up.
Well, that's definitely a nice little interesting
There's a,
treat.
there's a lot of people asking for the cigar. I just make it for him, but we get hit up a lot for the cigar. They got everybody's got to ask Joe. They got to go to Joe and
Go find
get
Joe
Joe
Rogan.
to. Yeah, I mean, I think if people go for his Instagram or something, and there's an outcry, maybe it will happen, but that's on Joe.
Yeah, I have to say, I've followed Joe for a long time, and I know he's a cigar smoker, and if anything, now he's helping bring cigars back. I saw he had Portnoy on the other day. They were smoking cigars, and it's like,
Yep.
we need that right now. We need more celebrities pushing the cigars.
Yeah, they were smoking the Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and there you go.
JRE. Yeah.
So if you're Dave Portnoy,
Yeah.
you can get it. So I don't know. You have to know
Yeah.
Joe.
If you're on the podcast, you got to know Joe. I've met some of his comedian friends,
Like
Ari
Bert,
Shafir being one.
Tom, Segura.
Yeah, those guys smoke cigars, but specifically Ari Shafir, he's good. Robert Kelly. They actually came up and visited me on the farm, and I gave them a little tour. So they got some JREs. They did they do a podcast called Two Comics, Two Cigars. If you ever get a chance, check it out. It's pretty funny.
I will. I
So
will
it's
check that out.
just two comics smoking cigars. So they did one. If you put in Two Comics, Two Cigars, Connecticut, they shot one right from the fields in the fall.
Nice.
So it's them smoking the Joe Rogan cigar in a broadleaf tobacco field.
That's really cool. Well,
Yeah.
Nick, I know you got to run, so I don't want to hold you up for too long.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna finish up some stuff here on the show. But thank you for being here, Nick, and we will catch up with you at PCA later this year.
Sounds good. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Absolutely. Take care, Nick.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Right.
All right, so that was Nick Melillo. I have a couple of things I just want to bring up before we do sign off. There's a giveaway to announce, and there is news. So our news, once again, is brought to you by MicallefCigars.com. If you head over to MicallefCigars.com, you can sign up to become official ambassador with the brand, as well as join their Facebook Micallef Ambassador Group, only at MicallefCigars.com. This was a very busy news week. There's a lot on here. There's a couple of highlights. I'm just going to kind of read the highlights off just because there's a lot of different things. Espinosa Premium Cigars will be raising their prices. You can read more about that at SmokinTabacco.com, but they will be going up. Sorry if I can get this thing to open. There is going to be across the majority of its portfolio, a 5% increase in price. So if you are an Espinosa smoker, expect to see some slightly higher prices after February 1st of 2023. Davidoff unveils its difference campaign and will be bringing back its former permanent core line size. Its classic number 1 as a limited edition across its white band lines. That will be 15,000 boxes available across, I want to say, the Senetjr, the Millennium, the Grand Cru, and the Anniversario. That will be available later this year. Actually, I'm sorry, later this month, at the end of January. Gurkha Cigars, for those who missed the show last week, Gurkha announced there would be 2 new cigar lines coming. One of them is going to debut at the Great Smoke. The Ghost Connecticut will be available first at the Great Smoke in March, as well as the Grand Age 2, which we'll see both of those next month at TPE in Las Vegas. And the giveaway that I wanted to announce this week is we have a J.C. Newman Antique Classic ashtray. You might have seen them floating around. There's some of them out there that J.C. Newman released about last month. We'll be giving one away, so if you head over to SmokinTabacco.com, there will be a page up there for you to check that out. Sign up for our email newsletter. The updates and information on that, how to win that, and how to enter into the giveaway will be posted there, so don't forget to sign up for the email newsletter. And thank you all for being here once again. For those who are listening later on the podcast platforms, thank you. And to everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts, however you listen or watch our show. Thank you once again. And with that, we will see you Tuesday night with Abe, Alex, and I believe Alec and Bradley are coming on with us to talk a little bit about the Great Smoke and the Great Smoke Alec Bradley limited release. And we will see you then. Take care.